Good morning, and welcome to South Church. Thank you for joining us this Sunday morning. Beautiful October Sunday morning. Hopefully this weather holds out for a while longer. Whether you're visiting South Church for the first time or returning after an absence, attend as often as possible, or are joining us online, know that you are welcome. My name is Brett Newbury, and I am one of a team of worship associates who work with our interim minister, Reverend Susan Sahusky Brown, to bring you Sunday worship. We are also supported by our Director of Lifespan Ministries, Kirsten Hunter, and a dedicated office and religious education staff. Thank you to Tim DeLay for his technical expertise in allowing us to stream these services. Music today is offered by Susan Adams, and the Time for All Ages is offered by Kirsten Hunter and Jen Del Deo. After the Time for All Ages, children are welcome to stay with their families here in the sanctuary, or join Jen Del Deo downstairs for further activities. At this time, our nursery is not staffed, but the room is open and available for any caretakers who need a quiet moment alone, for any reason. Assisted listening devices are available in the back of the sanctuary for anyone who needs one. Social hour will be held on the portico between services, and we invite you to join us outside for refreshments and community. But please use caution around the equipment that is staged on the portico. And now, Kirsten will make some announcements.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, folks joining us from their homes. It's nice to be together this morning. I have a couple announcements. We're doing the finishing work on the front portico, if you're wondering about that equipment, which is really exciting. The ceiling is being repaired and painted, as are the doors. So that's great. We're moving right along with all of that. The search committee is holding 2 sessions today to update the congregation on what's happening with the ministerial search process. You can join a Zoom session at 10:15 this morning, right after this service. And there's going to be an in-person session here in the sanctuary at 12:15 today after the second service. On Monday the 25th, so not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow, is going to be the annual Vespers service where we do a remembrance of our ancestors, anyone that you have loved and lost. It's a really beautiful service to come and join. So that's on Monday evening on the 25th, a week from tomorrow. And on Halloween, the Portsmouth Halloween Parade is happening again this year, and our church has a tradition of having a social on the front lawn that evening as the parade goes by. So we invite everyone to join us. The senior youth do a fundraiser that night, so they'll be selling baked goods and hot drinks, and it's a really lovely time. There's also a pumpkin carving contest, which is not just for kids. Anyone can submit an entry, and there are prizes for the winners. So please come and join us for that as well. And I'm going to invite Jackie to come up. Oh, I did.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jackie Ellis, and I'm here on behalf of the Annual Budget Campaign Committee. It was over 40 years ago, I was reflecting as I was preparing these remarks, that I first stepped into this sanctuary. I had 2 young children at the time and a husband, and we joined South Church because we had been UUs in our previous congregation, our previous hometown. And we had decided that Unitarian Universalism spoke to us, matched our ethical values, and we also thought it would be good for our children to have some church experiences. As you may have heard, and certainly can imagine, South Church was a very different place in 1979. The walls of the sanctuary were gray. The ceiling was crumbling right there. When things got boring, we'd sit there and wonder how long it would be before the whole thing would fall down. And downstairs, the walls were sort of a sickly turquoise, the kind of color I associate with prisons or hospitals. And there weren't very many people there then. One Christmas service involved the entire congregation sitting around in a circle downstairs in the parish hall, and we all fit easily. Nevertheless, I could see the potential in South Church. Portsmouth seemed like a town that would have other liberal thinkers, such as ourselves, and certainly there was room for many more liberal thinkers in this building. I signed the membership book at the urging of our new young minister, and then began making financial commitments, we called them pledges back then, to South Church. I have served in many capacities here: board chair, RE director, ABC and capital campaign committees, 2 ministerial search committees, and on and on. And for about 10 years after my son was diagnosed with a serious mental illness, I really didn't attend at all. I was too consumed by family drama and my job to take on one more thing. But eventually I came back at some point and jumped back into church life with renewed energy. Throughout these many years, the active and the inactive ones, I have continued to make financial commitments to South Church, mostly to the annual budget campaign, but also to various capital campaigns as well. And I always try to dig as deep as I can, to be as generous as I can, because this church, this community, and this belief system we embrace matters a great deal to me. And I know that South Church needs my support. It needs your support too, of course. So I hope you will join me in making a generous pledge to the annual budget campaign. You won't regret it, and we will all thank you. I know the campaign is having a table under the portico this morning, so if you haven't yet sent in your pledges, this is your opportunity. Thank you very much.
We light this chalice with words from John Andrew Holmes, poet, professor, and author of lyrics for several Unitarian Universalist hymns. There is no exercise better for the heart than reaching down and lifting people up. Please stand if you are able and join me in reciting the mission statement printed in your order of service, or shown on your screen for those of you joining us online. At South Church, we nurture spiritual growth through worship, learning, and community. We celebrate the worth and dignity of all people and inspire one another to act on our faith in the larger community. Friendship. In the modern world, the nature of friendship has changed, at least for me. In my youth, I cultivated friendships that last to this day. The best person at my wedding is a lifelong friend who, during her toast, recounted our first meeting at the age of 3, when I walked up to her and pushed her down. I can count on her to make time if I need to talk, and vice versa, though we rarely see each other face to face anymore. Another lifelong friend, and also my second cousin, now works with me at the shipyard, so I see him in passing regularly, but we only really communicate electronically. As I grew up, I ended up in situations where friendship was much more fleeting. I went to a boarding school where I made friends that I have not seen or talked to since. Similarly, in college, the only time I see any friends from there is when I cross paths with them again at the shipyard. Our lives have moved apart, staying in touch being all the more difficult for not sharing a hometown or even a home state with many of these friends. Then, Facebook happened. For all its problems, it meant that I was suddenly able to be in contact with everyone again. It was not all pleasant. Some people who were good friends in high school and college have turned into people that I don't want to spend my time on. But the real jewels are some classmates who I was not good friends with that I now communicate with regularly. 2 of them live in South Carolina and Los Angeles, so we're not getting together for coffee anytime soon. But they are the ones that I always enjoy hearing from. These 2, who happen to be African American, and I have been grateful to learn from their experiences and for feedback on better ways to be an ally to minority communities. So I am grateful for the modern world to give me the chance to be better friends with these people, despite the distances. But that modern world is a double-edged sword. I miss having friends nearby to play board games, watch movies, sing karaoke. When I moved from the Booth Bay area to the Portsmouth area, I was really kind of lonely. I tried playing football in a men's league and had some fun there, but when I had to leave the team due to work conflicts, it was like I dropped off the face of the earth in their minds. Everyone is so busy and caught up in the daily grind and trying to put a good face forward on social media that it is hard to meet new people and maintain friendships with them unless you have something in common to keep you together. So, my beautiful wife, Angela, talked me into coming here. And that has been a real blessing. Now, coming up on 16 years since I signed the membership book, I have met so many wonderful people here. The other worship associates and the staff come to mind quickly, as they are the ones that I have seen the most recently. But I cannot forget that Angela and I hired our wedding band from within the congregation, or the people I have met in small group ministry. This place, South Church, has become the something in common that keeps me in touch with these people. My children have friends here, I share values with people here, and helping here gives me a chance to share memories with the people here. Not to sound too much like a TV theme song, thank you for being a friend. And now our opening hymn will be Come Sing a Song With Me, number 346 in the Gray Hymnal.
So our story this morning is actually not going to involve words. It's just going to be acted out in silence. But I'll just tell you a little bit about this story. It is called The Parable of the Long Spoons. And this is a story that has become folklore in many faith traditions, and it feels very relevant to this month's theme of cultivating relationship, making connections to other people. So when you watch this story, I wonder if you will see what kinds of messages are there about the importance of relationships. Enjoy. Okay, if anyone would like to come up closer, you're welcome to do that. And at the end of the story, children are invited to walk out with Jen Del Deo and head downstairs.
I may be biased, but those kids are really cute. It is now time for the offering, time for us to help support all the good work and programs of South Church. During the month of October, our collection will be shared with Granite State Organizing Project, a group that unites religious congregations, labor unions, and concerned individuals to positively impact the quality of life in the New Hampshire communities. To learn more, visit their website, www.granitestateorganizing.org. Please give as you are able. The offering will now be gratefully received. I invite you to join me in a state of prayer. Every day, people approach our southern border looking for safety, looking for work, looking for a better way of life. Let us hold them in our thoughts and encourage the respectful, understanding treatment by our government agents toward those people as our elected representatives continue to review and revise the ways in which these needy people, our brothers and sisters in humanity, are granted opportunities to find peace. May we project an attitude of an energy of peace again for our governmental representation, to do the right thing across the globe, to be open to discussion before showing force, to work for the freedom of people like the citizens of Taiwan without the threat of armed conflict and war. As the economy continues its reconstruction, may the workers who are looking for better wages, better hours, better treatment find such. It will be hard, as we see several unions authorizing strikes to use the power of numbers to push for better conditions, as we see the great resignation of people looking for better situations. May all workers and business owners' voices be heard while their actions remain safe, peaceful, and constructive. May we know peace for ourselves. Peace can have a resounding power to guide us to our best selves. The civil act of working through conflict with words, not fists, is an aspiration to be held dear. It starts with one person listening to another, understanding to the best of their ability, cultivating a relationship, and working together to solve problems. It resides in our hearts and minds as a call toward the love of all in the betterment of all the world. Please hear that call.
And think about any prayer needs that you might have. Throughout our days and lives, there are events, experiences, people, circumstances that cause us pain or absolutely delight us. And it is up to us to take time to think about those and acknowledge those events. And at this time, I'm inviting you to settle into some silence for a moment and to think about something that you would like to put out into the universe by lighting a candle in silence. And when you are ready, I'd invite you to come down the outside aisle and light a candle in silence. And if you have a prayer need, a pastoral need, please hand it to the pastoral associates or place it in a card which is in your pew, and we will be in touch with you. And those of you who are listening from home, we invite you to make your notes of joy, concern, sharing into the chat. If anyone wishes to come forward and light a candle, now is the time to do so. May you know that you are held in love and care. We celebrate with you, and we help you through all of the challenges that life may bring you. May it be so. May we be there for one another. Amen. Cultivating relationships is both a joy and a challenge, and one of the most important activities for living a healthy, hope-filled life. I think it is also important to choose friends who might think differently than you do, who might come from different backgrounds and/or challenge you. During these last long months of COVID reality, I have been reflecting a lot on relationships. I've been able to stay in touch with friends through email and phone and Zoom and letters. And I love hearing how so many of you have set up family connection nights, where you read to your grandkids, or you play family games, or you just check in on one another. I suspect that many of those ways of connecting will continue when the days of COVID separation have ended. And this is a way to continue to affirm the friends we choose and the friends we need. I personally don't think I could have survived the sale of my home this last July without the support of the staff and two of my very close friends as I navigated that change. All involved provided listening ears, helpful advice when I asked for it, and taking stuff off my plate for the 2 weeks that were a frenzy of packing and moving, and all of you for welcoming me and my spouse here to this lovely area. That blessing has introduced us to new ways of cultivating relationships. But as I was thinking of this theme, I was reflecting back on an experience from many years ago. When I was a student minister in Winchendon, Massachusetts, my supervisor was Reverend Woody. And he offered many pieces of sage advice. And one that I took very seriously was his advice to cultivate relationships with the clergy and the community in which I lived, especially those of different faith traditions. And of course, this made sense to me, but I would never have thought about it as being so important in ministry. But he was adamant in telling me and explaining that it kept his ministry spirit-filled and healthy. Now, cultivating relationships made sense because when I had been working as a counselor with persons in alcohol or drug recovery, I knew that having a patient build healthy new relationships with non-drug and alcohol-using persons was key to their long-term sobriety. And I also knew that interpersonal relationships needed to be rebuilt in recovery, if that was possible, and or finding new mentors in recovering offered the best chance of recovery. I knew that from my work with addicts, but I hadn't thought about it in my own life as coming into ministry. But following Reverend Woody's advice, I reached out to two colleagues in Winchendon, Massachusetts. One was a United Church of Christ minister, his name was Dan Martin, and the other was a local priest, Father Gamache. So I proposed a meet and greet for the three of us. I'm guessing that Father Gamache's need for decorum prevailed, for though I had suggested they come to my house, we were instead invited to the rectory under the watchful eye of the church administrator. She greeted us and ceremonially invited us into the dining room. She served tea, coffee, and muffins, and would peer warily in every few minutes. I guess to see if Father Gamache was surviving a female Unitarian Universalist minister and a unique, outspoken UCC minister who used to start by singing, "I'm a little teapot, short and stout." We shared generalities and mundane conversation, and it seemed doomed to be a one-time meeting until Father Gamache's ugly, mop-haired, snaggle-toothed, cross-eyed dog wandered in under the table, whereupon I fed her a piece of my muffin, and the dog and I fast became friends. We finished on a high note of finally settling down enough to enjoy being together, and we continued that practice at the rectory for the next few months. I dubbed us the Crumb Crushers. Eventually, we made the decision to go out for lunch, and thus began the deepening of the friendships that we had chosen because we were serving the same community, and we were in a friendship that we needed as a place to dig deep into theological, cultural, religious, spiritual discussions. And even though we had wildly opposing theological, religious thoughts, we got together. Dan, Father Gamache, who I now called Roland, and I met monthly for in-depth conversations. And he became my talking partner while I was continuing to attend Andover Newton Theological School. And he helped me to wrestle with many concepts that I did not know about. And through him, I learned how to appreciate the depth of theological ideas, foreign to me, but necessary if I was going to work with others in religious settings. And even after I began the ministry in Leominster and Dan had retired and moved to upstate Maine, Roland and I met monthly for lunch, and our conversations were far-ranging, from the nature of humanity, the nature of the universe, evil, the Trinity, and why it made no sense to me, and why it made sense to him. And universalism, as in the Roman Catholic Church universal, and universalism as in Unitarian Universalism. We discovered we had the same belief in a universe that was at its core good, and that whatever and if there ever was a divine part of it, it was loving, forgiving, welcoming universe. We talked about Easter and Christmas, and I got him to think about the nature of different ways of families that were possible, beginning with Joseph accepting Jesus and the blended family that Mary and Joseph built. In fact, Roland gave me the snow globe with the Holy Family inside that he used as a teaching tool when working with youth, explaining a blended family. And we talked about the church's non-acceptance of homosexuality, and I was able to fully explain to him why I had only a short jaunt into Catholicism. Yep. I was Catholic for about 2 to 3 years. When I was in trouble, that means pregnant, and was about to be wed in the Catholic Church, as was the expectation of my first husband's family, I had to promise to bring my children up Catholic. I reluctantly agreed, but I decided if the church was going to be instructing my kids, I wanted to know what they were going to be teaching them. So I converted by taking the name Monica as the name I was baptized with. Why Monica? Because neither Susan nor Linda, my middle name, were saints' names. And you had to have a saint's name to be baptized. And because Monica was the long-suffering mother of St. Augustine. It was an ill-suited name. I don't do long-suffering well, as the rest of my story reveals. Now, I became Roman Catholic at First Communion in 1965 on Good Friday, the year that my eldest son, Scott, was born. I was confirmed on Easter Sunday, 3 days later. And then I began to learn more and more about Catholicism. I had been brought up a Unitarian and then Universalist, and I always had a propensity to religious thinking, acting, and I wanted to be a Unitarian Universalist minister, but I never really thought that was going to be possible, especially now that I had to quit school and promise my firstborn to the church. But that's not really the reason I joined. I joined the church for 2 reasons. One, as I said, was the pending birth of my child, and then I had said I would bring him up Catholic, and I wasn't going to do that without knowing the religion. And second reason was that the priest who married my first husband and myself, his name Father O'Shea, manifested incredible love, acceptance, caring, compassion for me in that unexpected way that I was. And he had such a depth of joy and compassion about him, I figured, well, maybe that was what was common in all Catholics, because the Unitarian Universalist church that I had grown up in was really, really mad at me that I had gone and gotten myself pregnant and disappointed my folks. And they let it be known. And he was loving and kind, and though he manifested all those wonderful traits and many, many more, Shortly after I converted, Father O'Shea left town with a married woman and her 5 kids. They went on to have 3 more, and he became one of the most respected psychologists in the town of Northampton, Mass., with a son who went into the priesthood. Shortly after he left, and when we had moved our church membership to Winchendon, Massachusetts, I decided to get reconnected with that church. I would have been like 66, right? But I decided I'm going to get reconnected to the church by going to confession. Now that always has struck in my craw, but it was supposed to be healing, so I went. And the priest, barely older than I was, though he must have been, as I was barely 20 myself, listened to my litany of sins. I'll spare you them. But a couple of them really bothered me as they pointed out some not nice aspects of my personality. And after I got done, he said to me, well, I can offer you repentance for all your sins. Go and say 20 Hail Marys, 6 Our Fathers. But I will not offer you absolution because you are taking a birth control pill. Did I tell you I don't do long suffering well? So I told him he had no right to interfere with my choice of how I was protecting my body, and that I would not let him tell me what I could or couldn't do. And then shortly after that time, the Pope came out against same-sex activity and birth control and abortion and other things I believed in, like civil rights, saying that people of color should be forgiving and just wait because their time was going to come. It was all going to work out. I sat down and I wrote a letter to the parish, to the nearly my age priest, and I resigned, and I sent a copy of the letter to the bishop in Worcester and to the Pope. No one ever got back to me. And this loops me back to my friendship with Father Gamache. After years of cultivating our friendship and deepening conversation about all things church, religion, culture, spirituality, oppression, female clergy, which he supported, I remembered that he was serving that church where I had sent my letter of resignation and frustration with the church. And I said to him, do you think that my letter is still in those old files? And it was. And we went and found the letter, and we both burst out laughing, and we fed his cross-eyed, smelly ragamuffin pup some crumbs, and we continued to talk about things important to us. Things that we did not all agree upon, but things that united us in a chosen friendship that throughout the years had become a friendship we both needed. Roland was born the same year and one day before I was, and he died about 15 years ago, around this time of the year. I visited him in his last days. We talked about life and death and hope, happiness and friendships and connections that sometimes push us beyond our level of comfort. Chosen friendships that fill a spiritual need. Friendships that challenge and grow and change over the years. And when you reflect on the theme of cultivating relationships that help you feel like you are part of a wider universal connection, and those relationships that endure, and relationships that help you become better persons, relationships that build community, I hope you will call to mind a few of those precious connections as I was able to do today. We need friends. We choose friends. Friends help us stay honest. They share laughs. They push us in new ways of being. They sit, stand, and kneel beside us as we struggle with all that life has thrown our way. And these relationships continue to need care and nurture. And I beg you and I ask you, are you taking time to nurture and cultivate your relationships? Please continue to do so. And if you are not, find a way to do it now. It makes life so much easier. May it be so. And let us join together in our closing music, number 95, There Is More Love Somewhere. Titled Community Means Strengths. We are all longing to go home to some place we have never been, a place half remembered and half envisioned. We can only catch glimpses of, from time to time, community. Somewhere there are people to whom we can speak with passion without the words catching in our throat. Somewhere a circle of hands will open to receive us. Eyes will light up when we enter. Voices will celebrate us whenever we come into our own power. Community means strength that joins our strength to do the work that needs to be done. Arms to hold us when we falter. A circle of healing, a circle of friends, someplace where we can be free. May South Church be that place for you. Go forth with love and joy. Be healed and be healers. Amen.